So we want to go in depth on understanding Twitter's algorithms, and I do that by bringing in digital business executive Seth Schachner. Seth, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, Natalie, great to be here. Good evening.
Yeah, my worst nightmare, doing an interview on algorithms and trying to understand. So we are very glad that you are here, Seth. All right, so for some people, we hear the word algorithm, you know, we pretend like we know all about it, but what are social media algorithms and what do they do?
I'll keep it really high level. I mean, you know, algorithms are essentially technology processes that social networks are using to drive engagement, to get customers to stick around, engage with each other, and, you know, see content that kind of fits their preferences or doesn't fit their preferences. You know, at the probably the earliest kind of level, it was the Facebook, you know, thumbs up and likes. But, you know, and I think Facebook's probably a bigger one to understand than any of them. But, yeah, I mean, the Twitter algorithm is kind of a programming tool, and it's a mix of this algorithmic mixing of content. But I think Twitter, to their credit, actually gives users a lot of ability to customize what they see or turn off things, unlike some of the others that are out there. So it's a programming tool, you know, for customers and users, and helps you see what you think is more or less preferable.
So why aren't there more regulations on or control on how these companies operate and use their algorithms?
Well, so, you know, like any sort of media business, they're trying to drive engagement and customers and get people using things. And so this is really part of the lifeblood of what any of these social, you know, media networks do, basically. And so, you know, I think it's a tough thing to think that you're ever going to be able to completely kind of control them. The social networks, particularly Facebook, have been able to live under something called Section 230, which, you know, essentially allows them to operate, you know, with a little bit of a shield of liability, if you will, from some of the content, you know, that are on their networks. And I think over time, it's quite possible that whether it's the Biden administration or other interests could kind of change that approach and will make them, you know, perhaps more responsible for content, you know, on the networks. And I think the algorithm will probably be somehow part of the thinking and process for doing that, basically.
Well, we've seen Facebook brought down to Congress to talk about things and how their Instagram might affect, you know, young girls, et cetera, and the whistleblower was there. So would you think this is an issue that might bring the folks at Twitter to Congress to talk about it?
Yeah, I think all of them. I mean, there have been some ideas that, you know, for any entity that is using an algorithm to, you know, drive engagement or user interest, that somehow they could kind of strip away that shield and say, you know, you're now publishers and you got to be a lot more responsible and kind of edit and police your content. That's really just, you know, an idea that's out there. But I think it is possible, and I think, you know, all of them could be not only brought to the table, but could maybe even do something in the market, you know, to kind of manage this. I mean, the one thing I will say to you, though, Natalie, that if, for example, if you started prying away some of the structures around algorithms, and Facebook's is really much more complex and perhaps a little bit more dangerous and pernicious because it sort of amplifies content, to your point, it could actually, ironically, maybe even help them. They might try and raise advertising prices if that business, you know, gets disrupted. So it's a really kind of slippery slope to try and touch it, basically.
Well, going to a human perspective, what are your thoughts on the fact that Twitter was seen to have content that's more right-leaning? I
mean, I think it's totally possible, and that could be a function of their algorithm and also just users indicating preferences. So I think it's I don't know if it's something that's going to be systemic and permanent, but I think Twitter's algo compared to some of the others offers a little more flexibility for users and is a little bit more open to understanding, whereas Facebook's isn't, and I think, you know, TikTok's isn't as well. So sure, it's possible that could be happening.
Well, we really appreciate your insight, Seth Schachner. Now I'm going to call it algos, just to be cool.
Maybe it's easier.
Thank you, Seth. We really appreciate your insights. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Natalie. Have a great night.